about 7 lessons that we've learned starting a hobby farm, things we might do over again. This idea came from a friend of mine, Dawn. She was a chief I served with in the Navy, and she asked a question, basically lessons learned. And that's something we'd do in the Navy a lot of times, is try to keep from repeating the same mistakes. What's something that, some lessons that we've learned. So that's what we'll talk about in this video, so let's get started. Tip number 1, prepare the soil before you plant. When we first got home, if you look right here, this is what we have here in North Carolina. This is red clay, it's everywhere. About the only thing that'll grow in it is grass, and you gotta work grass to get it to grow in it. So it's about useless. So we came back and we planted in this. Now we found there was a few things that will grow in this, but we didn't take the time to prep the soil like we should have. And we've been back now, I'd say for the 3rd season. This will be coming into our 3rd season. And it took us this long to start getting the soil prepped. We had to buy soil, we had to compost, we had to make soil. It took time to get the soil. So we also found that us growing down here in the ground like this, we were spending a lot of time weeding. This is not our primary source of income. This is something we're trying to branch into. So with it not being our livelihood, we don't have a whole lot of time to commit to it. And even if we did, we wouldn't want to commit all the time in the world to it. So what we do is we moved up into these raised beds, and this is a lot easier to work. I don't have to bend over the whole time, and we're able to work this, and this soil is good, and we do a lot better, get a lot more production out of the garden. So take the time early on, prep the soil. Tip number 2 is build a greenhouse. It doesn't have to be this big, but do it as soon as you can. Even if it's just lean-to right against your house, get a greenhouse started. It saved us so much time and so much money and so much effort. If you look right here, this is watermelon, it's just corn ready to go in the ground. All we're waiting on now is the frost day. Second the frost day is over, we're ready to go in the ground. You got tomatoes, peppers, onions. We were able to get ahead. We're able to bring up all of our own seeds. And last year we did this in the dining room on a little table, and it just didn't work, and it was a mess, and it just didn't work very well. So we ended up buying a lot of, not that there's anything wrong with that, but we bought a lot of plants like this pepper plant right here. That one's one we purchased because we don't have that variety. That's this guy right here. But having this greenhouse has afforded us the opportunity to get a jump on it. And plus, it's got us organized. I mean, it may not look organized, but it's got us a lot more organized, and we're able to really get a jump start this year. So this is the first year we're going into the season. We're just waiting on that frost day to pass. Number 3, we don't have to buy everything new. You don't have to buy the best of the commercial stuff. You can't be afraid to DIY. Take a look at this bed. This is pieced together. I mean, you have 2x4s, you have 1x4s, you've got the 10 we did buy, but as you can see, we pieced this together. It's not perfect, but it serves the purpose. So don't be scared to DIY, and if you wait until times are perfect, if you wait till you have all the right stuff, you'll never do anything. So just start doing it and just do it. You'll find out that you're capable of doing a lot more than you think you are. So don't be scared to DIY. Number 4, make sure you have a master plan from the beginning. Don't get me wrong, things are going to change no matter how well you plan. Plan A, plan B, plan C, things will always change. But one mistake we made was where we put the chicken coop. We put the chicken coop in the front yard, which is fine from the aesthetic standpoint, and it's nice having it here. But the problem we run into is we have a raised bed right over here, and this raised bed has been rendered almost useless. The chickens dig into it, they eat it, they tear it up, it's hard to plant anything there. The only crop that we've found that we can successfully grow in the front yard is peppers. For some reason, they don't destroy pepper plants, so we grow jalapenos, habaneros, things like that are grown in the front yard, but it still adds more work because we have to put bricks around it to make sure they don't scratch it up, but they don't eat the plant. And we've also found that for our flowers, we put a lot of flowers in the front yard for our bees. For some reason, anything pink, they eat. We don't know why. So we're able to put some purple flowers in, some red roses, things like that, but everything pink, they just destroy. So we avoid pink flowers in the front yard. All right, tip number 5. With us, we have a coyote issue around here. So what we did was we went with donkeys to guard our livestock against the coyotes. Well, what we found out is the donkeys, even though the donkeys we have are wonderful, they're friendly, they'll even let the kids ride them, they're great. But the problem we run into is they don't get along very well with some of our goats. And so that presents a problem when it comes to pasture rotation. Now, as far as the sheep go, no big deal. The sheep, she could herd the sheep around, the sheep would stay with her, it was no problem. And we've never lost anything. They're great as far as protecting the livestock. But doing it all over again, we would have went with dogs. We would have went with livestock guardian dogs over the donkeys. We do have 2 dogs that we have in the front yard. They're Bernese Mountain Dogs, which are not traditionally livestock guardian dogs. We lost a few chickens early on to the dogs, but once we got them trained, we haven't lost any chickens to predators. So, yeah, we would have definitely went with dogs over the donkeys, even though we love the donkeys. But the donkeys are a 40-year commitment. They live about 40 years, but they're not going anywhere. They just ended up being pets. So, again, we would go back and do it all over again. We would have went with livestock guardian dogs and not with donkeys. This is number 6. Number 6 is fencing. Fencing is a huge, expensive investment. We have well over $20,000 in fencing. The fencing, though, is crucial. The combination with the donkeys and the dogs and the fence, we don't lose animals. We don't lose anything to predators. Now, early on, we lost a few to hawks and a few to owls, which that's something we're okay with that. That's something we're not going to go shoot them, nothing like that. We understand that you lose a few of those. But now, with the dogs in the front yard, the hawks won't dare to drop down into the front yard. They won't take the chance, so we don't lose them at all now. Fencing's got to be up, it's got to be right, and that really has saved us a lot of money in the long run. And probably one, I guess, the most important but yet kind of controversial is a revenue stream. If you're going to have a farm and you're going to try to make a go at it, especially try to make money at it, you're going to lose money initially. The fencing along, it takes us years to recover from all the fencing we had to go up. But you got to think about things in terms of revenue stream. For example, for us, sheep didn't work out well. We got sheep, we just don't have the pasture. We have plenty of land actually, we just don't have enough of it pasture, enough of it fenced in, and we ended up having to buy so much feed that we wasn't able to turn a profit with sheep. So for us though, we start thinking about things in more terms of revenue stream now. That's something we really focused on and think about before we invest money in something. And take these goats for example, there are multiple sources of revenue stream. These are registered Nigerian dwarf goats, some of the best dairy goats, especially for their size. They produce a lot of milk, but they also produce revenue other ways, not just from selling the offspring as registered dairy goats. People who actually sell the milk, produce it, they will buy the goats, but also as pets. We do sell them most of the time as pets, so they're unregistered, people buy them and they have them on their farm. We use them here for clearing. We take them around with a mobile fence from Premier One, and we use that fence to clear, or use the goats to clear our fence lines. Another thing is their milk. We can't sell milk for human consumption, but we do sell it for soap making. We have quite a few people that buy the milk for soap making, and again, that's another revenue stream. And we also can take that same milk and we keep it for ourselves and we drink it. We pasteurize our own milk and we drink our own milk. And that's something coming in for us to use. We're able to also sell that. Well, selling that milk for soap, that's a big one. We also make our own soap. That's something else. So the goats seem to be profitable. They're able to generate multiple revenue streams. So we approach everything like that now. So when we think about it, not that we don't do things that don't, and we don't get rid of things that don't necessarily generate money. The donkeys, for example, the donkeys at this point aren't really generating any money, and the donkeys are just eating. But the donkeys have become pets, and that's part of it too. Is we'll keep the donkeys. We took a commitment on with them. We will eat that commitment. We really like having the donkeys here. But really think about things and try to keep emotions out of it as much as possible, because we find that that's where you lose money, when you let emotions get involved. So again, think about things from a revenue stream. How many different ways can you generate money on it? Talking about revenue streams, let's take the hydroponics for example. When we looked into the market, we find that there's not a whole lot of money in raising catfish and things like that in the aquaponic system. So in the aquaponic system, we decided to branch into koi. There's a constant market for koi. There's a lot of people looking to buy koi, and they're beautiful. So they're fun for us to raise, and they're fun to look at, and they work out well because we're not really doing the aquaponics for the fish, we're doing it to produce the produce. But how do we generate a second or third revenue stream? So in our case, if we sell some of the fish, great, that's another source of revenue. We have to have the fish anyway, so that right there will open up an opportunity for us to get revenue from another place. So again, focus on revenue. I know that's not necessarily popular and your emotions get involved sometimes and you screw up, but we're going back and doing it all over again. For example, we would have got the donkeys and we would have focused a lot more on revenue streams. So if you guys liked the video, hit subscribe and please give us a thumbs up, and thank you.